How is he viewed by world leaders?
Trump?
Yes.
Oh, I think I was in Europe in 3 countries last week. They generally think this is a joke and that there's no way it could actually happen. So they're not spending a lot of time thinking about it. And I think they view it as part of the kind of carnival of American politics. I don't think they've kind of really focused in on the fact that, you know, he still continues to lead in the polls, and they assume it'll blow away.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he sells himself as the best leader to negotiate with, you know, with the world community, with other leaders, because he says everybody is killing us. Let's look at one of his favorite speech lines.
You look at trade pacts. China eating our lunch. Japan like we're children. Mexico, both in trade and at the border, what they're doing to us is terrible.
I've been saying China's taking our jobs, our money, our base, our manufacturing. I just told the press. And we owe them, think of it. They've taken our money and our jobs, our manufacturing, they've taken everything. It's one of the greatest thefts in the history of the world, what they've taken out of our country.
So China, Japan, Mexico, he says, eating our lunch, killing us. You say it's the exact opposite.
Well, it's astonishing. If you look at the United States today, we are growing twice as fast as Europe. We're growing 4 times as fast as Japan. He's picked a weird moment to make these accusations. There's a part of this which is almost like a 1980s time warp. You know, Trump wrote The Art of the Deal in 1987. It was published in 87. That was when people thought Japan was eating our lunch and its super smart leaders were somehow outwitting us. For the last 20 years, Japan has been the poster child for political paralysis and stagnation. Yeah. The Mexican economy is literally falling off a cliff because of declining oil prices. And China has just gone through the most embarrassing 2 months of really the last 30 years, where they spent $400 billion trying to unsuccessfully prop up the stock market and the currency. So you kind of wonder, is he reading the business section of the newspaper?
Let me read this, because you talk about this. You said last quarter the U.S. economy grew at a 3.7% clip. Annual growth now is almost twice that of Europe and 4 times that of Japan. Unemployment is at 5.1%, the lowest in 7 years. The deficit as a percentage of gross domestic product, 2.8% in 2014, is at its lowest since 2007. Those are great numbers. It's great numbers for the economy and for businesses, but are working people, are working Americans feeling that?
No, they're not. And that is a real problem. And it's a long-term problem. Let's be honest. Middle-class wages in this country have been stagnant for about 20 years. And you have had this phenomenon where companies are able to do more with less, partly because of automation and technology, partly because of outsourcing. And that's a real problem, and we've got to figure out what the right answers are. And President Obama has been trying with, you know, return of manufacturing, community colleges, more technical education, all those kind of things. But that's a problem that's been going on for 20, 30 years.
Our leaders are stupid. We are seen as patsies around the world. How do others view us that way?
So I was in Europe, and I was talking to actually a number of business people. And several of them, in fact, I would say almost all of the ones I talked to, at some point or the other raised this question. Their great concern is that America has become so dominant in technology. All the big technology firms in the world are American. In entertainment, in finance, all the big banks in the world are now American. We've come out of the 2008 crisis better than any country in the world. Their concern is too much American dominance and power. So again, essentially the opposite of what Trump is saying.